Hello and welcome to another review. Before we start, a few months ago I stopped posting new reviews. Simply had no time to record them. And over that period of time I received multiple requests and messages with requests to resurrect the postings and to review more models. I simply had no idea how many people were watching them, and sounds like they're helpful. So I'm glad to hear that, and I do my best to post more of them. I have a lot of models, and yeah, let's start. Today we're reviewing a set of Hungarian State Railway passenger cars released by NMJ. And NMJ is a Norwegian model train company specialized in Scandinavian models, but occasionally they do release other countries' models as well. And here's the entire consist. First class, starting with the first class car. Restaurant car. Second class, open seating. And second class compartments. You can see the different arrangements in the windows, and again following by second class open and second class open seating. Packaging. This is the box in which the models are arriving. NMJ logo. Topline is one of the ranges of their models. They have I believe 2 or 3 different ranges and levels of execution. Inside, vacuum form tray with clear lid. I don't know how well you can see it because of the light. Yeah. And small pouch with extra parts. So these are just standard couplers and brake hoses. Alright, I'll give you guys my impression to start with, and then if you guys want to stay and watch more and a little bit more details, you're of course more than welcome. So first of all, huge bonus is the paint scheme. This set is just simply looking fantastic on the layout. I had the opportunity to see this train live in Europe a couple of times passing by, and it's equally impressive of course. Fantastic paint scheme. As you can see, the paint job is fantastic. There's no overspray. Fantastic separation of colors. And to be honest, let's face it, nowadays it's really hard to find a poorly painted model on the market. A couple of examples. Very nice separation and no overspraying whatsoever. Obviously I like the paint scheme a lot and the paint quality. However, my first impression was when I first opened the boxes, and actually still is, alright, they look a little bit on the heavy side in terms of details, right? So what I meant by that is when you take LS models product out of a box, every single detail is very crisp and you can tell the quality is pretty much obvious. This is not quite the case here. I'm not saying that this is not quality product. However, the first impression and the presentation overall is definitely on the more heavier side, in my opinion, from a detail standpoint of view. And you have to keep into perspective one more significant fact. The price point between the LS model and these models is completely different. This is not the same partition. So these models, I was able to find them in Europe for as low as 46 euros, so let's say $50 per car. You can't touch LS model unless it's heavily discounted for that kind of price, right? You will pay at least 50% more for a LS model car, if not more. It's all about personal perception, of course, but if you are looking for that, LS models kind of look like delivery of quality. this is not a model, in my opinion, that is going to deliver to your expectation. Backend wall, standard NEM socket, solid buffers, and the end of train marker lights are pretty much solid red plastic inserts that look a little bit too fluorescent-ish for me. So I'm not really big fan of the execution of the back-end markers. Other than that, the paint quality and execution overall is actually quite nice. Another interesting bonus here is the retractable transition plate. Let me see if I can open this. Yeah, with the diamond pattern on the top. And here are the boogies and the side frames. They actually look a little bit plasticky for my taste. Very simple, straightforward execution. There is no braking system. I would say rather basic execution. Still look okay. The boogies are pretty much industry standard execution with a snappy feed point, but I wanted to point out something else here. One of the models, which is unfortunately one of the disappointments with these models for me, arrived with badly machined one of the wheel sets, and it's really badly wobbling to the sides. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Right here, that side is moving up and down. So that's a little bit disappointing, and I sent an email, I tried to contact them, they're not responding, so I will have to find a replacement wheel set on my own. Right, so let's take a look inside. I already have the boogies taken out, they're just simply pulled down and you can snap them back in. And there's a number of clips on the side. Actually the shell is sitting quite tight, but if you have the right tools and, for example, credit card cut it to pieces, you'll be able to open it. You have to be careful with some of the small details here, not to break them off as you wedging the shell off the base. And here's the surprise. No, there's no interior in these cars, which is for nowadays standards a little bit surprising. However, at the same time, these cars have a very dark glazing on the windows, and I assume that one of the reasons they decided not to do the interior is because practically you won't be able to see it anyway. Like I said, these windows are glazed really dark, and that's prototypical. I'm using my cell phone, you can see some glow, but these windows are super dark. Again, personal perspective and personal preference. I'm personally a little bit disappointed not to see the interior being executed. Whether you can see it or not, it's just simply, I think, a standard nowadays. And it's been a while since I opened passenger car that is targeting collector's market without having interior inside. From the practical standpoint of view, when you operate even in on a layout like mine with full lighting and so on, you can't see through these windows. Alright, the shell itself is just simply standard plastic injection molded. This is the plastic solid red strip for end of train markers, which I'm not big fan of. And finally a couple of shots with micro lens to show the details and the paint quality, which is actually very impressive. All markings are very crisp and clearly you can read them. So here's my personal conclusion. Nice looking models, however, they are not on the list of the top models in my collection. From my personal perspective, at least 80% of the appeal is in the paint scheme and the way how NMJ executed the paint scheme. It's actually done very well. If you exclude the paint scheme and you take a look at the chassis, the model is actually rather basic. A good, solid execution of details, but nothing really outstanding. There's a couple of things that in that simplicity of execution, I'm not necessarily a big fan of, and actually I'm a little bit disappointed. Number one are the fluorescent solid red end of train markers. That's a little bit of a budget execution, and the lack of the interior inside the cars. Still, this is model that is targeted towards collectors and hobbyists, and I would like to see the interior being executed regardless whether you can see through the windows really well or not. And lastly, the wobbly wheel set. This is a big disappointment. This is clearly an indication of some issues with the quality control. I hope that this is one-off incident. However, when you run the entire set, you can hear that modulated sound from multiple of the cars. I haven't checked the dimensions, but I think there's something not quite right with the tolerances on machining of these wheels in general. Anyway, so wrapping this up is the price point perspective, right? 46, 48 euros in Europe, and let's say $50, $55 in the US is still a very decent price point. And you have to look at the quality and overall appeal of this model from the price point perspective, like any other things, as always. So thank you very much. Happy model railroading.